The United States is at war with terror. After the successful invasion of Iran and the overthrow of the terrorist government, our nation stands victorious. But safety is a forgotten concept in these times, as reports from sources in Africa suggest the Soviet Union provided the Khomeini's escape and harbor in their nation. Across Europe, nationalism grows by the day, and the edges of NATO fray further and further. George Bush's second term is as busy as his first, with a caliphate in Nigeria, terrorist activity documented on every continent, and the Red Menace once more rising its ugly head. The months ahead will define the Bush presidency, as well as the future of the United States. But with friends still remaining, we will not face it alone. This is the third and final part of the United States Millennium Dawn role-playing campaign. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy. We gotta talk about what we're doing with Iran.
We gotta reconstruct. There was a lot of violence, a lot of their infrastructure is destroyed, and
We got reports of continued activity in the southeast. What's going on with that? We got insurgents.
Yeah, they haven't submitted to our forces yet, and it's quite a hard task as it's a very mountainous region. We couldn't eradicate them all, but for the most part, they're not as powerful as the main government, and they for sure do not have any real force of taking out the new government we have.
Well, we'll want to keep our military presence there for sure. Rumsfeld, you want to work on getting some troops on the border there? We don't want them moving over the border too much. I think we should probably also station divisions along the Afghani border. All right, Director, I see you here a little bit late. What's our status on counter insurgency? Also, what's the update on Nigeria's situation?
Context with other smaller groups, but with their help, I believe that Boko Haram can be pushed out of key cities and potentially the whole country one day.
Are we sure you're not advising direct action there? I mean, we have forces on standby.
There are some attempts by the government of their so-called caliphate to de-radicalize a bit, but I don't really I don't buy it. I don't buy what
they're goddamn terrorists. They can't de-radicalize if they had to do it to save their goddamn life. But there's the big thing we have to talk about though. That conversation with the colonel regarding the fact that Russia assisted the Iranian government in getting the Khomeini out. I think that's something this administration has to decide very carefully. Trini, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, the Soviet Union, they've reestablished the presence in Eastern Europe. I'm quite concerned. Maybe we should consider NATO expansion in the Balkans for any Western outlook nation, particularly Bulgaria and Greece. I know Greece was a former member and they left. If we could potentially get those two members to expand our influence.
I think that'd be a good idea. We're already working a lot with Croatia.
President Sarah.
President Sarah, calling from a mobile device from 1997. What can I do for you?
Well, thank you. I know the call is very shoddy. I had just.
Are you calling from the jungles of the Amazon? What the hell's going on?
Don't worry. Our infrastructure is going to be much stronger by the end of this deal.
God damn, I hope so. If you need some American money to build up some radio towers, we can help you out here.
Well, that would be great, President Bush. I have an offer. A new initiative. The Road to Riches Initiative. And this will help boost both your economy and mine.
But will it boost your telephone signal, President?
Most assuredly. If you build
I'd
up
be interested.
the roads, I can build up the phones.
Now, what's the details of this here plan?
I know that both the Twin Towers were lost during the vicious attack by the Iranian terrorists.
Goddamn
so we will
right.
help build back the Freedom Towers to its natural glory. And alongside that, we'll build up your border regions with Mexico so that your infrastructure in and out of South America is stronger than ever.
I assume this will come up with American investments back in Brazil?
Of course. As you know, roads for roads, roads to riches.
Yeah, we can get behind that. How much are you looking from the U.S. though, in terms of numbers? I gotta pass a new budget here pretty soon, and a good amount of money. I mean, if you're, what's the number you're gonna be putting in the U.S. then? One more time.
It's up to $1 trillion, whatever you can manage.
I see no issue, not to match that with $1 trillion investments in Brazil. This would be one of the biggest investment deals I think in world history.
I mean, you can spice the deal. We can get some of that sweet Lockheed Martin.
You want American manufacturing, military complexes. That's a spicy ass there. I think I can do that. I can pull that for you. I'll have to talk with Lockheed. I know Cheney's in real deep with those guys. They spook me the fuck out. They're weird as hell, man. I'll have him in here for meetings sometimes, and goddamn, they are. Oh God, he's in here. Cheney, I apologize. I wasn't speaking about you. Not at all. I was thinking about someone else. No, Lockheed's great. We love our American manufacturer, military complex. Absolutely.
Well, President Bush, I thank you for your time. I'm going to send over the investment papers very shortly. But have a nice
Wonderful.
day, President.
You as well. You as well. Hello there. Who's this phone call come? My red light just lit up.
Oh, it's President NATO. Welcome.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me here. It's not too far of a flight. Not too bad from DC.
No problem. I congratulate you, the American people, and your presidency on the victory in Iran.
Thank you very much. The war on terror is an existential fight. The whole of the Western world's fighting it, just like you are down there in Yucatan.
The American anthem by the Mexican band army.
I love my anthem.
It's not very long.
But we got some talks we gotta do here, President.
Of course, sorry, forgive me. The war in the Yucatan is proceeding accordingly, thanks to your air support. The Maya rebels are on the point of breaking.
Good,
I
good.
believe by between 2 years, likely, the entire organization will be wiped out. If the situation degenerates, but it doesn't seem for the moment, I shall ask for American support. And regarding the southern border with Guatemala, we have completed the construction of the wall. It is now fully operational, and we require minimum maintenance.
I'm seeing on the news that there's these goddamn caravans of migrants, like millions of them, coming across the fucking Yucatan.
Yeah.
We gotta stop that, President. All right, you hear me? I don't want them crossing my border.
We're holding them at the border now. We just need
Many of
minimum
them
maintenance.
could be terrorists.
And it's a success.
Many of them. Good. We gotta stop
Likely.
them where they're at. I think we're about good. Any more security? Any more surveillance we can give you? I won't go into details, but we've got a cutting-edge new program that we can track just about anything. Phones,
We have some
satellite photos,
dissidents in our
data,
country,
anything.
but
We can
for
take
the
that
moment,
shit.
We got dissidents. We are also willing to share information about possible terrorist action by part of certain cartels in the United States. So we are more than willing to share this information. I think it's necessary for the security of both of our countries.
Goddamn cartels. Yeah, I think further cooperation between your intelligence agency, the CIA, and the FBI would be a good way to do it. I mean, we've already gotten a bit, but in times like this, we need to share resources, President. All right, thank you for your time, President.
Thank you for yours, Mr. President. I'm glad you have visited us today in Mexico City.
Especially negotiated Bulgaria and Greece to join NATO.
Wonderful. Great to hear, Cheney. Hello there. This is President George Bush. I want to call you up, Mr. Zuganov, to talk to you about this worrying situation that we found out about, and talk with you before we take any action on the UNSC or the UN General Assembly. We had a call with a Colonel of Libya who made it very clear that it was the Soviet Union and yourself who somehow managed to get the Khamenei of the terrorist government Iran to his country before he went to Lebanon. We'd just like to give you a chance to respond to this and tell us why the hell you did this before we move forward with anything. As again, my administration feels it's important to have a line open with Moscow, even with these hostile acts.
This would make many countries around the world terrorist organizations.
So I take it you're not going to even deny it?
Deny what? That a foreign diplomat with diplomatic immunity traveled to. What would we do?
So you do admit then that you did smuggle the Khamenei out of Iran and gave him safe harbor?
Smuggling here. We had no troops on the ground. We had no participation in them simply.
Belarusia certainly did.
The Belarusians' diplomatic actions have nothing to do with the Russians' diplomatic actions.
We know very well that they are nothing but a subject state of your modern Soviet Union. If they were making those actions, they would have run that by Moscow. So again, you're not going to deny. You will accept the fact that you smuggled the Khamenei out of Iran.
No, I would not accept that I smuggled anybody. No smuggling occurred. This is a false lie. A diplomat with diplomatic immunity of another internationally recognized nation traveled to Russia for a brief period of time to the Caucasus. We're aware
I'm not here to play the word game with you.
It.
The fact of the matter is, you assisted a terrorist government. We'd like to just understand your reasoning for doing so. Frankly.
I just gave you my reasoning. They were an international recognized country with diplomatic immunity traveling through Russia. We had no.
We're supporting a terrorist state with nuclear weapons and nuclear facilities that broke the NPC.
We do not recognize them as a terrorist state, and we did not have any evidence of nuclear weapons at that time because you and your cronies vetoed these actions to investigate.
I was really hopeful that this was not true, but the fact that you're not even denying these accusations is shocking.
Why would we deny it? There's no reason for it.
Things I think are going to escalate very quickly from here, Mr. Zuganov. I just want to make it clear. This line is always going to be open.
I cannot see why anything would need to escalate.
Thank you for your time.
Nothing was done.
I just spoke with the premier of the Soviet Union, Zuganov, and he fully admits to smuggling the Khamenei out of Iran. We need to have a big talk here about how we're going to address this. My voice is normal, but I can assure you, my rage is without equal right now. And I'm not trying to do something fucking stupid. You help my father out a lot in times like these, in the Cold War. You know what this is like, Shady. What the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah, it's quite a dangerous game. Of course, we can't do anything. I don't think we should do some too radical stuff, though. I think we should go to Turkey and maybe Denmark and consider cutting off Russia's access out of the Danish and Turkish straits if they're openly admitting to supporting terrorist governments.
I agree. I think that's a very good idea. I think we also need to start talking with many of the international UNSC members, get them on the same page before the UNSC meeting. I think we also need to draft legislation, at the very least, condemning Russia and potentially considering sanctions. Is this phone call connected? I need to speak with Chairman of China. We got ourselves an international crisis here. Chairman, I had a phone call with Premier Zurganov, and he admitted to smuggling out the community of Iran and giving them safe harbor in the Soviet Union.
You're right, so-called Soviet Union is harboring a terrorist then, it seems.
But we need to make it clear this behavior is unacceptable. And can you imagine? I was curious if you had any thoughts here. You know, the United States, we're going to want drastic action once this news breaks. I haven't told the media yet. When this news breaks, my people, they're going to want blood. Before that happens, I want to have a talk with you. I know we've been on frosty relations recently, but we have a shared conviction in the danger of the Soviets, I assume, still.
Yes, we agree that they do present a threat.
Now, I think to begin with, a condemnation of the Soviet Union at the UNSC would be a good start. Obviously, it'll be vetoed by the Russians, but even a vote where all the other permanent members of the UNSC vote for it would be a public statement against their actions. We're trying to be willing to support us in that. I'm not talking about an abstention. I'm talking about a vote for yes.
Do we have actual solid evidence that he's been moved to, like, Russia? Is he in Russia? Is any...
I can give you the logs from my recent phone call with him where he makes it very clear.
As such, China will most definitely follow suit in the UN's Court of Law in accordance to that, and we will definitely be condemnation of Soviet Union is valid then.
I'm very glad to hear that, Chairman. Well, this has been a good talk, and I must say I'm very pleasantly surprised with your cooperation, and we look forward to it and hopefully more of that in the future. Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Mr. President. I have something to tell you as well, but you first.
This is there's no monitoring on your phone call, right? This is a closed call?
It's a close call.
I had a conversation with the leader of Russia, Zhuganov, where he made it clear to us that he did in fact smuggle out the committee, the terrorist at the head of the terrorist Iranian government that struck the United States, and that he gave them safe harbor and diplomatic immunity within the Soviet Union.
Well, that's certainly problematic. I think that demands condemnation at least.
We're putting together a couple different actions to be able to properly respond to this. The first of which will be a vote in the UNSC formally to condemn Russia. Now, despite their veto, we would like to have all the permanent UNSC members vote for this proposal, as it sends a strong statement, even if there isn't a formal one from the UNSC. Is France going to back us up with this, given that you were part of the coalition forces in Iran?
Of course, we are able to give you. We certainly will back you up on this decision.
The second item we are currently pursuing is the possibility of closing off the Bosphorus and the Denmark Straits from Russian shipping, both military and commercial, in order to send a strong message to the Soviet Union about this behavior. Will the French be willing to back us up with this? We need a General Assembly vote for it to back it up, but frankly, at the end of the day, we really need the Danish and the Turks to cut it off.
Let me be frank, Mr. President. What is the probability of Russia retaliating militarily?
It's never not an option, but we can't just let them get away with this. They embedded a terrorist here.
Yes, but given that Russia is a country with the most nuclear warheads in the world, I'm a little bit concerned about this decision, Mr. President.
It's a situation of mutual destruction. I thought France was all about modern power projection. Don't tell me you're getting cold feet here.
Yes.
If you want to play with the big dogs, President, you gotta grow yourself a big old ball sack. Can you do that for me? Can you grow yourself a big old ball sack? Can you do that?
Mr. President, it will be French. This is a closed line. Please, yes.
I know it's a goddamn closed line. It's France looking to be a modern power. Are you looking to cooperate with the U.S. internationally to preserve global order? Because if you want to talk all day long, that's fine. But this is the kind of action it takes to do it.
Then, Mr. President, in order to do this, I want your approval to condemn Thailand for the actions in Laos.
This is not a quid pro quo situation. Do you want to uphold global order, or do you want to make deals like a second-rate power, President?
I want to pursue global order, but
Then
I
you'll
also
back
have
us
to
the
fucking
fuck
get out
up
of it.
here. That's what you'll do.
Mr. President. Again, no.
That's unfortunate.
Well,
I wonder what the
Yes.
French soldiers who fought in the coalition wars will think once they see their president and their government not taking action against those who abetted a terrorist who led that group. You had soldiers down on the ground, didn't you, President?
Mr. President, do you understand a major global nuclear war?
Do you understand that this is a slippery fucking slope? And if we don't set some goddamn lines here, the Soviets are gonna walk all over us. You know, they referred to you as our puppet.
It would be, but it would be French people dying first. I will agree to this. However, I will reserve the right to pull out if it gets too hot.
Just remember, if you pull out, then you're not gonna be what you claim to be. A world power, a modern power, it got goddamn cojones. And if you pull the fuck out, the whole world will see you won't have them.
I got cojones, Mr. President. I closed off the whole Mediterranean. Nobody opposed me.
That was a small situation with small powers. You're playing with the big dogs now.
Mr. President, I understand.
Good.
I agree.
Do we
to-
understand
agree
each
to
other?
this. We do.
At this point, I think we need to go in. At the very least, we need to send some volunteers over there.
Of course, I say we should guarantee them, and
Military intervention into the caliphate.
I say so.
We can start justifying right now. It'll take 600 days. We are going to be preparing for a military intervention. It'll take us well over a year, and we're going to be sending volunteers in the meanwhile to try and stop their forces.
As well.
We'd appreciate that greatly. The more coalition forces on the ground, the quicker we can push back these terrorists.
Yeah.
The United States says if NATO would like to get involved, that'd be completely fine. But
I would like to call for a motion to NATO to fully intervene in this conflict, yes.
France also intervenes.
we need to call NATO's members in here. Are we missing anyone? I think this would be a good example to show NATO's strength, given what we've been seeing in Europe. After we get this organized, I also got something I think NATO should be aware of, but we'll give it a moment here. We're going to be putting troops on the ground and air on the ground right now. If other NATO forces would like to do the same, I think it's about time we take some action here, gentlemen. Speaking of which, I want to take this moment. Let me make sure there's no one else in here who shouldn't be in here. You're all NATO, good. All right, I want to make this very clear. We've spoken with several of our partners, but we want to make this very clear. I had a phone call with Zyuganov from the Soviet Union, where I was told by the Colonel Gaddafi. Well, I had a phone call with Premier Zyuganov, where we had reports, and I'd hoped that they were not true. The Russia smuggled out the committee doing the war, the terrorist leader of a terrorist state that declared war on the U.S. Zyuganov did not deny this, and he said that he gave the committee diplomatic immunity, and they held him and gave him hiding places in the Soviet Union before moving him to Libya. And I want to make this clear: if they're willing to do this to the enemies of the United States, you can be damn sure they're going to do it to the enemies of European states too, which they have historically made very clear are not their friends. We've already talked with the Bulgarians who are interested in doing this, and I think we need to look further. I hate to draw a line about the Cold War, but Zyuganov has made his new Iron Curtain, and we got to contain that threat. I hope the rest of NATO is with us on this. We'll start to push it back here. Once more coalition forces. All coalition forces, let's start to move here. We're getting blitzkrieged. It's time we start pushing back. We got superior forces.
Yes, Turkey will reluctantly follow the cowboy once again.
The cowboy. I'll take that as a compliment. I hope you meant it as such.
Where's the NATO Air Force? Currently, only French fighters are engaging into air combat.
American fighters are over Central Africa.
I think you eat too much steak in Texas. I don't know. Your body has gone to mush. Your brain too.
What?
What?
Mr. President, you wanna take a moment?
Ah, these fucking cowboys, man.
I think you need to take a fucking moment.
I wouldn't take that level of disrespect. That's.
I think you need to take a moment, cowboy.
No, I'm telling you to get the fuck out of this room if you didn't get my drift there.
I think the Turkish president needs to check his brakes.
We hang up on
Security!
you. You don't hang up on us. We hang up on...
Get the fuck out of here.
I'm gonna take a minute. You know, my wife, Laura, she's I've been watching my blood pressure recently over shit like this. She told me to do the 5 breaths. One moment.
Yeah, grab my hand, Mr. President.
Someone give me some fucking fried chicken. God damn it.
Now, in and out with me. In and out. Breathe in.
I'm fine. God damn it.
Right.
Fucking Turks, I swear to God. Almost as bad as the French. God damn.
Agent Ricky, give me that goddamn chicken.
What are you mean?
No,
What do you mean, Mr. Bush?
Everyone, drink your beer.
Respect. We want more respect from all the NATO members in here. Germany is taking respect, and America also next respect. I want
Well,
some
you really
goddamn
have to sit there.
respect. Today, France is gonna chair this meeting. This is a extraordinary UNSC meeting on the situation of the Russian invasion of Lithuania. And I'd like to talk about this first. This will be the first agenda that we're gonna attempt to recognize as the Speaker of Russia.
Yeah, again,
Sorry.
we find no issue with our own actions. Perhaps this meeting's about the issue in Nigeria. We would like to report to the United Nations Security Council that the Lithuanians have nationalist rebel groups within their ranks and within their own militaries that carry out an attack on a Socialist Republic of Latvia in the city port of Liepāja. Our intelligence agencies have concluded that this would be a state-sponsored terrorist action by the government of Lithuania.
All right. Any more speakers?
United States would like to speak.
The UNSC recognizes the United States of America.
I'm here on behalf of the United States President to make it very clear to the UN Security Council that the actions taken hostile against Lithuania are a red line for the United States. Although they are not currently a NATO member, they were one of the countries that were recently being discussed for NATO expansion, and we do not acknowledge the supposed attacks against a Soviet state. As such, we have placed our nuclear forces on high alert and are at DEFCON 2. Any further movements by Soviet troops will be viewed as a hostile act against Europe, the United States, and the world as a whole, especially given that we have had confirmation from Mr. Zyuganov that they assisted the terrorist government in Iran and gave the Khamenei safe harbor in Moscow. These actions of the Soviets are clear. They abet terrorists, they take hostile action against European countries, and the United States will draw a red line explicitly at this point. We are ready to take action if needed, and we will not allow the Soviets to conquer the world.
The UNSC president recognizes the United States of America.
We would like to begin by formally proposing an official condemnation of the Soviet Union, and if their actions continue, we are going to take complete action. So I guess we could start with a condemnation.
Yes, the UNSC recognizes the Soviet Union.
The Soviet Union will say that in the past, when the West has attempted to justify a conflict, they come to UNSC and they openly deny anything that they say. They flagrantly disobeyed the UNSC decisions and invaded the state of Iran. They gave bullshit justification and did not want investigations or whatsoever. So for this, we do not believe that the UNSC has the power to do anything, as they have directly limited the UNSC's power. Perhaps if they wish to only use the UNSC as a way of controlling nations that they disagree with, then perhaps it is not so impartial as once believed. We do not believe that that any of this is necessary. Our investigations have been very conclusive, as apparently were the alleged CIA investigations. And we shall say this: any action taken against the Soviet Union or any of our Soviet republics will be treated, will be responded to very much accordingly. Our nuclear stockpiles are ready, and we will not back down from these actions. If you wish to descend the world into nuclear conflict, into fire and fury, we will follow you. We have set up nuclear strikes ready for the west coast of America, as well as the east coast, as well as America's puppet states in Europe. No state in mainland Europe will be left untouched if the Americans wish to escalate this.
Granted.
The United States wants to make this abundantly clear. The situation of Iran was dealt with decisively. We had satellite images and we had evidence prior to the beginning of the war, as well as monitoring data for a nuclear test. After taking action due to the failure and vetoing of Russia to stop any attempts to investigate or ascertain the truth in Iran, we were forced to take action. And make no mistake, that action is what prevented Iran from gaining the nuclear weapons they needed to make strikes on targets in the Middle East and elsewhere. Our actions in the war proved decisively that we are telling the truth, and that we found numerous nuclear facilities as well as productions of WMD facilities in Tehran. It was a terrorist government that launched an attack on September 11th on the United States and was dealt with accordingly. The Soviets' actions in assisting a terrorist government and a terrorist such as the committee is already bad enough. Now we have seen them take decisive action. I will remind you all that many of you disagreed with the findings of the United States, which we do find still very disappointing. But the fact of the matter is, we did take this before the UN. We brought our evidence to the UN, and before we took any action, we talked with international communities, including Soviet Union, for that matter, and Mr. Zhukanov. As we can see here, the Soviet Union has done no such thing. They have declared unilateral military action on Lithuania, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan with no valid cause besides the fabricated ones, and agreed to no further attempts to investigate this. The United States does not want a nuclear war, but in our eyes, if they are allowed to annex these states, they will continue to move forward. I will reiterate, this is a red line. We have launch facilities ready in Arabia, as well as our coastal regions aimed at the Soviet Union and their client states, and we are ready to launch, and we will do so if a single troop from Soviet forces walks forward from the current lines they are at.
What's the plan? Because I don't even know what's happening. Are we at war with Russia?
It's a gray area. So, like, again, so what the timeline of this is, we got dirty bombed in New York, and they invaded a couple days later, which is why we escalated like that. They have agreed to stop pushing their forces, but they're still at war with those countries. We have nuclear forces on standby, so we're just probably at like DEFCON 1 or 2 still, sitting there. Like, we need to launch an investigation in NRP into what obviously happened, where they came from, and stuff like that.
Well, didn't Nigeria announce they did it?
Publicly, yes. I mean, just now. But we don't know who they were working with or who they weren't working with, because we already have evidence that Russia supported embedded terrorists in the Middle East, so it'd be pretty reasonable to suspect they might have helped the Nigerians. So let's go grab all the NATO members and get a NATO meeting going.
Have some help in
permission from the US to close off the Danish Straits with the help of the French Navy?
Not right now. We're not doing that yet. We need to wait. We need to determine what's going on before we start a nuclear World War III here. All right, I think we got everyone. All right, so RP West. All right, we are gathered here in London to discuss the NATO situation. As many of you know, we came very close to some very existential crisis there with the Soviet Union. Now, just to reiterate to the NATO members to make you aware what was happened, New York and Houston were struck with attempted nuclear bombs. They were not sophisticated, and they were in a basic form. We managed to kill the terrorists who attempted it in Houston, but New York, we are working on recovery efforts there right now. It's the second time it's been attacked in the last 4 years. Now, given this, and given the fact that the Joint Chiefs suggested that we did not know where it came from, and given the predisposition of Moscow to cooperate with terrorists like we saw in Iran, we could not rule out the fact that the Soviet Union launched a strike, they hit a strike on us in combination with terrorists, which obviously was at the same time as their invasion as Lithuania. To start off with, we would like to apologize to our NATO allies for taking extreme action without consulting you. But you have to understand that the United States has been attacked for the second time in 5 years. We don't know where it came from, and we cannot rule out the Soviet Union yet. As such, we feel that we are completely in our right to act there. As such, we are obviously invoking Article 5 of the NATO Treaty, as we have been attacked. Who has attacked us? We do not know. It appears that there's a lot of evidence to suggest that it was Boko Haram, who we have now dealt with. But we do not know if they were abetted or assisted by anyone. Until such time, America is at DEFCON 2, and we are going to be on preparation for any action. We need to discuss two things at this meeting, the first of which is stopping the civil war in Italy from this rogue general, and the second of which is to discuss the future of NATO, as we heard a shocking number of comments suggesting that our allies in Europe were not going to stand by us after we were attacked.
France will not send volunteers, but France will provide extensive military material support.
Good to hear. We need to speak on the bigger issue now, though, which is the fact that the United States was hit, and there is many talks of a NATO. I can understand the desire to not involve yourselves in a nuclear conflict. That I can most certainly understand. But there is no debating that we were attacked. And there is no debating that you all have signed treaties that beholden yourself to fight in defensive conflicts. Now, we got very close to the edge with the Soviets, and we've stopped, though that is still on the edge. Until we can ascertain what exactly happened in New York and how we were hit, America wants to know quite plainly, is NATO still standing?
Croatia still stands with the United States.
France is following Article 5.
Germany stands with its American allies.
Very well. In that case, we will assume our commitments continuously and prepare for any action which is necessary. God willing, it will have been only the Nigerians and we have taken action. and we will build a new government there. However, if links are found between other powers such as the Soviet Union, Article 5 still stands, and I hope you all understand that and are committed. Unfortunately, this will be the end of the USA series. Some stuff has happened outside the game, which kind of makes it difficult to continue. I hope you enjoyed the USA Bush Roleplay Series. The next Millennium Dawn videos will be for the upcoming update, which will radically change Millennium Dawn as a whole. Catch y'all soon.